Hello guys and welcome back to Tycoon Online. It's been a long time since an episode. I haven't recorded one for a while, about 5 days in real life. Um, and yeah, the last episode just was uploaded today. I forgot to upload it. But yeah, as you can see, there's been an entire economic crisis, which had a really strange effect. It didn't go down very much at all, and then went up a lot, and it's now been coming back down. But yeah, we've had that, and since 5 years have passed, and I haven't played very much, I haven't even overtaken. So yeah, catching these guys is getting harder and harder. They're profiting about 2 billion a turn. I'm profiting probably about average 300,000 a turn. I mean, my year is literally making less and less. Um, the reason for that is because some of my planes are starting to age out. So yeah, we really need to start replacing them before we either start to get accidents or other negative effects from flying such old aircraft. Now, there's not really appropriately sized aircraft to use to replace some of these aircraft right now. So kind of instead, we're using aircraft which aren't really appropriately sized. But I mean, what can we really do? We really need to get these planes replaced because they're costing a lot of extra money. Additionally, yeah, I'm starting to get really bad downticks. I'm not really sure why. But I think I dropped to literally like just neutral money on some downticks earlier, which is a bit concerning. I think if we take a look at my report here, I dropped down to literally zero. Yeah, I don't know why. What happened here? Passenger income down, fuel expense. I mean, I'm not really sure. But yeah, my company's really struggling. Um, not making a lot of cash. Part of the reason for that is because of old expired aircraft. But the other option is probably just I have a lot of optimization to do. I need to return a ton of planes as I'm doing now. I'm really annoyed there's not a return all button. I mean, these planes, oops, I'm not upgrading this. I'm simply never going to use. Wait, do I own some of these? Yeah, sell all the planes with less lifespan than this simultaneously. That's what we need to do. Some of them are leased, some of them are owned, it turns out. I don't know why I own DC-811s. Oh, yeah, I remember. Probably the first few I ever bought were probably bought. Just because, you have no leases available, and that was before the 707 320B came out. That's probably when those are from. But yeah, in general, just a lot of aging out planes. I'm going to have to start to think about replacements soon for fleets like the Tupolev. The Caravels are expired, so um, even my 707 freighters are going to start to need to be replaced out soon. I'm not sure how they're doing on age, but yeah, they're a few turns out as well. So yeah, we have all this to start thinking about. But in the meantime, well, I need to deal with this as well. Just a ton of airports are overflowing. But yeah, in the meantime, basically, we can just take a look at some of the routes I've been making. So I'm just kind of curious to see how much these routes are making, and they seem to be doing really fine, which is a nice indicator that I could probably keep making these routes, which is really nice because I have a ton of plans to schedule, a ton of money. I mean, I have almost a quarter of my entire company value in the bank right now, and that can be all put to work towards making more money. So yeah, I need to go ahead and do all of that. Unfortunately, yeah, it's just been kind of having a lot of fun the last few days in real life things, and not really being able to play as much to keep up, but I'm not too concerned. I mean, I just want a third place finish, and I'm almost certain if I really want it, I can grab it by playing actively. And yeah, these are just direct routes because there's not much to stop over on the other side of Singapore, for example. So it's not worth it for me to open a stopover. I mean, there's just a few cities like Denpasar, Jakarta, Surabaya, and like those cities are nice, of course, but they're not really important enough for me to really be concerned with making sure all these routes are stopovers instead. Instead, I'll just run them direct, which is fine since seem to be able to be more than filled up um, despite the unoptimal non-stopover usage. But yeah, Like, this is fine. I mean, I'll be able to use these cities and stopovers later. There's still tons of untaken demand between Singapore and Europe. I mean, is Hamburg even taken? Well, I've taken it. Okay, not bad. That route could definitely be upgraded to a 747 in the future. I'm using DC 1030s where I think the city is around 300. I'm trying to use SPs where the city is a bit bigger than 300 or I simply can't reach it with a regular plane, like for example Agadir cannot be reached with a DC 1030, so I'd prefer to use a 747 SP. But we're kind of all out of slots now in Singapore and Europe, so I'm moving on to Guangzhou. Guangzhou is similarly sized in the sense that a direct route like this can easily fill up. I mean, I'm going to be upgrading these planes to slightly larger ones. But yeah, luckily with Guangzhou is there's a lot more stopover options thanks to the existence of cities over here. So I can do stopovers like this, grabbing 5 schedules a week on the nice monopoly side, and also grabbing some additional income. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect route on the other side, which is really, really nice indeed. And yeah, as you guys can see, there are additionally tons and tons and tons of routes to be taken like this. The only slightly unfortunate thing about this is the fact that just only 3 schedules by plane. Okay, don't really want to do that then. The only little bit unfortunate thing about this is the fact that I'm not able to make as many routes to Guangzhou because per slot I need to use, or per route I need to make 10, or per plane, my bad. I need to make 10, oh, I'm low battery. I need to use 10 slots, and that means I can only make 5 routes before having to do another round of slot requests, which takes a lot of time. So basically, if I don't log on frequently enough to request slots, I'm going to run out of slots in some of these major airports, like Guangzhou, which I'm currently expanding out of, which kind of leads me to kind of needing more hubs in the future. So yeah, as you guys can see, I'm kind of running out of slots across the board, as right now I'm in a phase of kind of quick, rapid expansion, where I've been opening a lot and a lot of routes across everywhere, basically. At least relative to the amount of time I'm playing, I'm not putting too much time into the game in the sense that I'm not logging on very often to make sure I have slots and such. So it's kind of resulted in a little bit of a little bit of an issue where I'm running out of slots. I need to log in more frequently to request slots everywhere. So yeah, I think I additionally have Beijing, though my Beijing coverage is getting pretty good. But a lot of these are DC-862s. So yeah, in the future, no more DC-862 sized aircraft. They are simply, at this point, too irrelevantly sized compared to the size of the cities and everything. So yeah, I'm going to be looking to mostly expand with 747 SPs and DC-1030s in the future, and then I'll switch to 767-300s over DC-1030s once those come out. 767-200s might be used depending on how my company is going. If I need to expand quickly, I might consider not using or using 747-200s as they're thinner and able to access slightly smaller markets, though I don't think I'll be having a small market problem in this game world because the World Traveler Index is really high by my standards. Yeah, I'm not used to having the World Traveler Index so high, and that also means that I can make a lot more routes than I'm normally going to be willing to make, which is both a good and a bad thing. It's kind of a blessing and a curse because now there's so many more routes available, but at the same point, it's making it so I can never catch up with the big guys. I can never catch up with number 1 and number 2 unless they make some mistakes or I play extremely actively. Now, I am used to coming back from behind, and unlike in previous iterations, I have an extremely high service investment value. Let's just buy some fuel, because why not? Yeah, I have 72.05. It's been maxed out for a while, and as I get close to 100, I can turn that down. Because I'm already higher than most other players on the game board, so this is kind of like a long-term investment. I mean, I only have, I believe 20 years left in this game. So I've already used a third of my time to become 4 times smaller than the next guy I need to catch up to. So that's a bit unfortunate. But yeah, I'm going to be back once I have some more slots and such. But one thing I need to show you guys is how I make my prices, because as you guys could see, I was just completely ignoring my prices. So we'll go ahead and do this, and the load factor is 0, which is of course only the new routes. The prices are going to be set to 1.3. So my prices for all those routes are going to be 1.3, and I'm done. So yeah, I didn't have to spend too long playing, which is kind of the way I like to play this game nowadays. Because yeah, the way I used to play the game was just too time consuming. And yeah, I'm going to be trying to get rid of these DCs and 707s soon, and yeah. Actually, before I go, I just want to take a look at some profits. 707s are still making somewhat decent money. 747 100s are still making great money, especially the ones which are owned. The ones which are not owned, it can sometimes make pretty mediocre profits, like this one. With that 3K depreciation cost kind of lowering the numbers we see. So yeah, anyways, we're still making good cash. Um, it actually should, in theory, be enough to catch up with these guys, but 610 profitable planes, 1,300 profitable planes, it's going to be a tough one. Anyways, I'll be right back in a bit. And welcome back, guys. We have some, slots, and we're ready to go for some more routes. So yeah, there's just a few cities, like, outside the main ones, which I'm looking at eventually expanding into. I think I've missed a few decent ones, like Durban to London. Um, yeah, you guys know me and my tendency to try and take everything to London. Um, I'm looking for a 7th stop, and I'm not really sure where to go for, but maybe something over here. Yeah, I've been pretty thorough with this, but yeah, we could do something like St. Petersburg, but there's no slots. Minsk is not a proper stopover route due to the angle. And maybe something like this, because I'm guessing Stavanger to London is likely a TU-124 route. So yeah, we'll go ahead and close that. And then we'll make this as a stopover route, therefore, preventing the need for a short, unprofitable plane, increasing it with a nice long haul plane, which is profitable. So we'll go ahead and do that. Very nice. And yeah, we can continue to just kind of quickly, rapid fire, make the routes to Singapore. Yeah, I really like making these routes because it's extremely fast, not making stopover routes. It only requires a few clicks per route creation, which, really keeps the time for route creation down, which is kind of important for me now, because I used to be a lot more patient when playing these games. Now I kind of just want to take the game a little bit less seriously, but while still having fun with it. So yeah. I'm looking right now for actually cities which are 300. Tripoli, for some reason, is not taken. I can easily fill a plane much larger than an SP. I mean, that should be taken with a 747 dash 200 or something like that. But unfortunately, I do not have one. So, yeah, in the meantime, we have routes like Stuttgart still, just untaken, which are really nice for 747 SP sized aircraft. Let's see, what else do we have? We have one more, maybe something like Nantes, and we can just go ahead and make that. And yep, that should be it for Singapore. So we can just grab our slot request there. And now we'll move on to something like Guangzhou again. And yeah, Guangzhou is another one of those cities with just tons and tons of different routes available still. So we can go ahead and just make some of them mostly as stopovers. Yeah, once again, just making the pricing like this, and yeah, but this is mostly tedious and most of the same stuff as before, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish up, and I'll be right back. And welcome back, guys, to Air Tycoon. I don't know why I'm starting this like it's a new episode, but yeah, I finished off opening a whole bunch of new routes. All we have to do is set the prices. But yeah, I've been thinking about what I should do to, you know, keep going. And I've been thinking that it's probably about time to start investing in new hubs. Now, I'm still a bit short on cash. So, what I mean by this is my income is not particularly high. 500,000 a month means that I can probably only buy, a couple 747 SPs per turn. So, not a very fast rate of increase. But there are tons of hubs. For example, Shanghai, for example, Seoul, which just have very, very little competition in general. I mean, I can see just from the lines themselves that there's very little competition. Like Kuala Lumpur, it is a freaking ghost town here. It has not been taken to cities like Luxembourg, Napoli, Pescara. Um, all these are great routes which are not even close to be being taken, and that makes me think that I should throw in a little bit of investment um, to these city destinations. Um, yeah, they're simply very, very good, very profitable routes which are not being utilized. And I think that's a bit of a waste. And I think I should start to take advantage of the fact that a lot of these routes do exist. So I am going to start investing in some of these cities at a pretty high level. I've tuned down my investment in some other cities which were not experiencing very much competition. But other ones, such as Hong Kong, such as Seoul, um, are just great cities which don't receive as much competition as I think they should. Um, so I'm gonna spend, quite a bit of money per turn investing in these cities. I mean, I do have other cities coming up: Barcelona, Madrid, um, which are great for stopovers. But Madrid seems a little bit taken. I don't know by who. Let me take a look. Is it the number two guy? It's not. I don't think it's PwC. So let's check this out. No, it does not seem to be the number two guy. Is it PwC? Let's take a look at this. Nope, it just seems to be a random airline. A smaller one who seems to be pretty thorough with taking routes, which is a bit of a shame because I wanted to open up Madrid, but this is looking a little bit high in competition. Barcelona, on the other hand, is not. So I've invested in both previously, but I think it's time to tune down the investment level in Madrid because I don't think I'll be opening this for a long time. So just hold on to enough of it to, make sure it doesn't drop. But Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong, and Seoul are going to be my new targets. Tokyo seems to have quite a bit of competition. It's a bit of a shame because I have already invested in it. And there are routes still which I can get out of it, but not too many, also given it's difficult to stop over location. Though it is easy to stop over to the North American side, but it's been taken quite thoroughly, leaving only, not a great number of kind of second rate cities. Um, Alright, guys, we're back. We got a lot more slots to play with, so we're continuing to expand, and it looks like we're doing pretty good now. As you guys can see, our profit is actually kind of skyrocketing, despite investment increases of 50k, which is really nice. I know these are upticks, which obviously really helps, but it kind of shows that I still have exactly the right framework of a company to create big bucks, but I just kind of haven't done it yet. Which is kind of nice to know. That means I just have to, continue on, not sitting back and actually scheduling my, routes to fly, you know, and I should be able to at least catch up back to this guy. Pretty sad that he overtook me. Yeah, so we just gotta really continue, um, open up those good routes, yo. So let's see how many we can find. Now, there's plenty of missed routes like this. Singapore to Kiev, and I'm not sure if I should be taking these with SPs. SPs are once again extremely expensive aircraft per aircraft. Like I don't know how else to say that. So it's not the most ideal situation to be spamming them kind of like this. Um, using smaller aircraft when possible, even though like it's not the biggest deal, would be advisable for 747 SPs, simply because of their extremely high costs associated with being a large aircraft. But at the same time, they're extremely satisfying. So, it makes up for that in some ways. But, like, I feel like for routes which don't need the range from the 747 SP, I should potentially be looking to make those routes with some other aircraft, except right now that some other aircraft doesn't really exist because the 747 200 is simply way too big. Of course, the 747 100 is also too big, but with a really low purchase cost of just 50,000 or 50 million from being a leasable aircraft is a consideration worth considering, Um, but at the same time, despite the fact that the aircraft can be so cheaply leased on a lot of these routes, it doesn't have the range to create any meaningful stopover pairs, which makes it not really a great option. Um, so yeah, basically what we end up with. Yeah, anyways, I got interrupted there, so can't really remember what my train of thought was going off on, but probably it was something to do with just to summarize the 747 SP, probably being a bit oversized for a lot of the tasks I need it for, or not oversized, but overranged. So if there was a cheaper, lower range alternative out there, it would probably be advisable to use it, but that does not seem to exist, so instead, we are just going to be making stopovers for SPs. Now, I am kind of struggling for routes. Now, as you guys can see, for places like Guangzhou, I have quite densely taken the nicer routes. So this kind of route is easily compete on this. Like that's a 727 and an A300. With terrible satisfaction, so I can easily add another route to that to make a stopover. The reason I'm needing stopovers, of course, is the fact that I need a longer range stopover. Maybe something on this side of the planet. Edmonton, Saskatoon, San Francisco. Hopefully this is long enough to bring it down to 4 schedules a week. Yeah, it's just because I don't ever want to update that to 5 schedules a week from 4. Being routed to Singapore, of course, as another one that stops. And that makes me wonder if Kuala Lumpur is competable as well. And yeah, those are all tiny aircraft or terrible aircraft. So we can go ahead and make a similar stop. As you guys can see now, I'm using stopovers to connect a lot of these places with the SP because I don't think it'll be quite big enough to fill up without it, or be ideally profitable, like making the most profit possible for the aircraft. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm gonna do. Like places like Malmo, I have not connected to anywhere in Asia, not Beijing, Guangzhou, nor Singapore, which are of course my 3 Asian hubs. Soon to be more. But yeah, I have a feeling I can do routes like this. And even though and guys, I didn't notice when, but at some point my phone ran out of space and stopped recording. But the essence of what I was talking about was I am simply making stopover routes. Yeah, just to destinations and just wow, that's a surprising route to have no competition. But of course, we will go ahead and take that. Only 4 schedules a week is a bit unfortunate, but what can you do? Sometimes that is just how it be. But yeah, we're really kind of running lower on routes, which are ideal. Like a lot of the cities in Europe, for example, like Cologne, are even running out of slots, so I'm gonna need to grab some of those for future routes. And other ones like Basel, luckily, have tons and tons of space, so we can, of course, keep making these stopover routes. We're also running out of nicer destinations for the stopover. Like this has a lot of layers of competition. Probably not really worth adding to, for example. So we need to find ones with slightly less competition. I don't mind competing, but the competition cannot be too fierce. like this, even though they're all terrible aircraft, and I'm pretty sure I can add to that. Why bother when you can probably find better ones available? I'm guessing Bangkok will be pretty good. Yep. And then of course we can go ahead and add these nice routes to Bangkok. Now this world is really interesting in Air Tycoon standards, I guess you could say, because usually what happens is the top cities in the world, basically all of them, become relatively crowded. That is not the case in this world. It's only the cities which the number one and number two player in are crowded at all. And I am miles behind them at this moment, though. I reckon I might be able to get close to them, like in terms of a percentage, later on in the game. Like, for example, I still think I'll be much smaller than them. But as a percentage of their size, I think I might catch up a bit. So right now I'm a quarter their size. By the end of the game, I could be 70% their size, is basically what I'm trying to say. But yeah, right now I really can't compete with how big they are. But hopefully, quite soon we'll start to pull closer. Why is there so little competition on Beijing to Hong Kong? I do not know. But I'm going to be adding my route to that for sure. And I'm going to be adding Guangzhou to Beijing to some other stopover destination as well. Maybe Trans-Pacific, because there's quite a few nice routes like that I'm yet to take, such as Sacramento. So yeah, we can go ahead and take that as well. And very, very nice. That is kind of most of the routes I think I needed to take. Go ahead and put in some more slot request orders for Guangzhou. I realized I also have this Frankfurt hub, which is also extremely underutilized. Like there's tons of SP747 routes, which are just yet to be taken, and a lot of close range routes yet to be taken. So I think I should focus in on that, especially while the main Frankfurt airport still has slots. Um, that, of course, being important since it is super annoying to acquire more additional slots. So yeah, yeah, I can. Yeah, so I was saying yeah, I'm running out of slots so that I can take stopovers or something. I can't remember, man. I keep getting interrupted this episode. This is the mandatory, interrupt-a-thon episode. I will always have one where I try and make a longer episode, and then the interruptions roll in non-stop. Oh well. Anyways, just looking for stopover destinations for my Frankfurt 747 SPs, which is really nice because I'm finally catching up on my plane kind of replacements, though I'm now suddenly about to hit 707 freighters, which is annoying because what do I replace them with? What do I replace 747 freighters with? Because there are no conveniently sized replacements, is a way to put it. Like, there's no replacements which are about the same size. There's bigger ones, there's smaller ones, but very, very few which fit in that nice size bracket of perfect to replace the 747 SP. And that is frustrating to me because I seriously want to think of some good replacements, but I really can't. Yeah, additionally, just on another note, there are tons of these Southeast Asia kind of stopover routes I haven't taken. So yeah, it's gonna be quite a chore to finally take all of these eventually. And thinking of stopover ways to do them as stopovers, because I think a lot of them aren't necessarily worth it when they're not being a stopover. So if I can find a really close by destination as the final stop, that'd be great. Something like Toulouse, but that's going to yield 5 schedules a week. And there are not 5 slots. So I can do something like this. Like, oh yeah, there's only 2 competitors on that route. That's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm starting to run into the problem where I kind of lack planes again, thanks to my active. Why did I use the unsatisfying preset? I don't know. But yeah, basically what I'm saying is I'm starting to run out of the nice planes again, and like as you can see, my cash is very low. So that's a bit of a problem because, of course, you need nice planes to make nice routes. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Yeah. Anyways, we can go ahead and keep opening up these routes. I mean, can this get 3 schedules a week? I'll happily take 3 schedules a week. Yeah. Very nice indeed. Like a lot of these cities to London, I could stop to a local destination, but where? Where is their local destination? Like London to Toulouse? That's a sub that's being flown by 747-100, for example. Um, so like, yeah, these are all already, from what I can tell, being flown by 747 sized aircraft. I mean, if I see a lot of slots on one of these cities, like Manchester, I literally just don't have London to Manchester. So wait, what? Did I click cargo? Oh yeah, we can close this. Whenever we find Tupolev routes to London, I'm gonna be closing them to open them up for uses for stopovers. I kind of regret opening any Tupolev routes now because I have to redo them. Yeah, as I find them, I'm just redoing them as SP routes. So it's making the opening these routes, I don't know, 4 or 5 times as tedious. When, for example, I want to make a London to Phuket stopover, now I have to find that one route somewhere which is not being flown by a 747 or larger aircraft, like Dublin, for example. I found one. Now I close it, and then I'll go ahead and find the stopover, and then connect it up back to the city I wanted. So, for example, Sanya. This is a really great route, actually. I'm probably going to want to upgrade that one to a 747 when I get the chance. Yeah, right now, I'm just furiously opening routes with whatever plans I got. But sometime in the future, I'm going to have to start and basically take a look at my routes and be like, hey, these routes are too big or too nice for 747 SPs, or too nice for whatever plane I'm using, and then upgrade them to a larger model. I don't have to worry about that yet. How is that not a proper stopover route? Okay, I see how that's not a proper stopover route. Maybe we'll go ahead and find something this way. Durban, Port Elizabeth, and Cape Town. I'll use Cape Town because I don't want PwC to have a monopoly on that. Basically, I'm using SP for the higher satisfaction. And then, yeah, we'll go ahead and figure that out. Another thing is, like, for other stopover routes, I think I'm going to start do 50-50 stopover routes. As you guys know, I've been doing these kind of interesting looking stopovers like this. And then to a very close by destination. I don't have one to use right now. Well, I have Leeds, actually, which is really nice. For an example, I've been doing these kind of stopover routes because I noticed that they make more money by observing the number one guy on this channel. But 50-50 stopovers are still nice for routes which are too small. This world does not have the too small problem, though, because the World Traveler Index at 3,400, 3,500 is quite high. I rarely see a World Traveler Index this high, and when they are, I don't have to think so much about making sure each route is full, because that's not really a concern when the route is a monopoly, especially on upticks, which is what I'm experiencing right now. For example, if I sort by load factor, we have these new routes, and then we have the low satisfaction planes. So these ones won't be full basically no matter what you do unless you lower the price, because satisfaction is red, of course. And then if you keep going, you'll come across, like, very quickly the 100% locked zone. So a lot of these are new routes. So for example, these routes are Tupolevs, not very satisfying. They're not full. Then below that we have the brand new routes. So of course 1 turn old, not going to be full. And then they're just all locked full basically. The uptick downtick variation just comes from mostly my competition routes, where a lot of them are not locked full. A lot of them are locked full as well, as you guys can see. But yeah, let's see if we can find any that aren't locked to full. Yeah, like as you can see, these the uptick downtick variations come from routes like this. This one has relatively moderate pricing though, so designed to keep PwC at bay and his much less satisfying planes. Now, as you guys can see, PwC is blowing up right now, and here's the thing. I think there's a possibility I can deal with him because my limit for planes is about 2,000. Any more planes than 2,000 and the game becomes unplayable. Unplayable in the sense that I don't have enough time to replace the planes and add more new ones, even though I have a lot of extra time. Now, to deal with him, my plan is to just overlap him. Now, what my mistake was is starting to try and overlap him too early. So most of my routes were competition early on, while his were Monopoly. And that was a bit of a mistake to let him run away, plus a little bit of inactivity, and he really, really pulled away from me in that time. But now, yeah, I was also trying to compete with the number 2 guy in Los Angeles at the same time. Very unluckily for me, my first 2 planned hubs were the hubs of the biggest players on the world in the world, and as you guys can see, it has resulted in me owning a lot of routes with big profit fluctuations like this. This one's one of the most exaggerated ones I've seen in a while. But I didn't want to let some of these competitors get away with monopolies. Also, as you guys can see, my plane is by far the most profitable. Even despite lower satisfaction, surprisingly, a lot of these players are keeping the planes brand new. Yeah, I'm really surprised I'm making more than him. I wonder why. Other ones like this, Dallas to Beijing, despite competitors, still extremely profitable. Yeah, look at this, 9K to 4K. It is SP, but you know what? Yeah. Anyways, basically what I'm saying is I think I'll find a way to compete with him. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. It's been a long one. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.